guys, it's Lisa. So God told me who my husband was, right? Then he untold me and told me somebody else. I know we're all made of questions when we hear that, but I just want to explain it and basically help someone who may be going through something similar or just a lot of things, just really share. So I'm first tell y'all the story of how we got here and then tell you some things that this experience has taught me. So how we got here. I was reading The Wait, and I really love the book, and Megan Good talks about knowing that Devon Franklin was her husband, and I was like, that's so lovely. Then I thought to myself, I know people who know who their husband is, who they're not married yet. So I was like, God, if it is meant for me to know who my husband is, let a girl know, like reveal it to me in a dream, right? That was my prayer. Went to bed, woke up. No dream. I said, all right, guess it's not for me to know. A few days later, my church is on a fast, and I'm praying. I'm like prostrate, which is when like you're kneeling and like you're like all the way laid out. And I had never prayed like that. For some reason, I just felt led to, and I prayed for wisdom. And when I prayed for wisdom, he said the guy's name in my head, and he was like, it's so-and-so. So-and-so for this case, his name's going to be Zach. It's not his name, obviously. So like, okay, it's Zach. And I said, what is Zach? Tell me more. What do you mean it's Zach? And he was like, Zach is your husband. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And I had seen this guy a few days before this happened, and I was really weird around him. Like, we hadn't seen each other in a minute, and I was just really weird. Like, I was like giggly and like just not myself, and I felt annoyed about it. I was like, oh my God, why did I react like that? And I think my spirit knew what my natural self didn't know, if that makes sense. Like, that like something's about to happen here. So that's what happened. He told me who my husband was, and I was like, okay, Zach is cute, like, you know what I mean? And God had revealed some things before that to me about what my marriage would mean and how it would affect people. And I was like, this guy lines up with that perfect. And how we could speak to people and empower people. And I was like, this lines up with that perfect. Lit. So then I feel led to text Zach and ask Zach to hang out and all this stuff. And I was very clear that, like, God, unless you tell me to do something with Zach, I ain't doing it. Because I'm not going to be the one who messes this up in terms of alignment and everything and action. Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, Zach, by the way, you're my husband, so see you at the wedding. Like, that would not be in God's will, because that's not why he told me. He didn't tell me so I could tell him. And I think that's where some people get messed up when they find out if God tells them who their spouse is. It's like you go and tell that person, but like, maybe that's not what God wanted you to do. Unless God explicitly said, hey, so-and-so is your husband, so-and-so is your wife, go tell them. I don't think we should do that, because that could freak a person out. Like, we also have to remember, though God is our source and he's everything, he also understands how the real world works. And stepping outside of that is not really it. You know what I mean? So I would hang out with Zach. We would like text and stuff, and it was really nice. And it wasn't like, we weren't even in the talking stage, if I can be transparent. We were just acquaintances who chat from time to time. But in my head, that was my husband, so basically we're about to get like married soon. And that was he told me in June. In August, I was like, if I pray something hard enough, I think I could make things go faster. So I prayed. I was like, by August, me and Zach are going to be in a relationship. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And of course that thing didn't happen, because you really can't adjust God's will with your prayers. And you can't, like, if God didn't ordain for something to happen in a certain timeline or at a certain point, he's not going to be like, oh, she praying real hard, let me just make it happen. Like, that's not exactly how it works. But in that month of August, a lot about relationships was revealed to me, and I learned a lot and I grew a lot in not only the area of relationships, but just in a lot of other ways. And I can go into detail about that later in another video. But I just grew a lot in that month. So it wasn't like my prayers were wasted. It was just God was showing me and revealing to me other things. And funny enough, in that same month, God said to me, all your sacrifice and all your obedience and all your faith will not go to waste. Like, I will honor them. And it was in regards to Zach. And I was like, so basically to me that means if Zach messes up, but I'm still being faithful, I'm still being obedient, I'm still following God on this, God's going to reward that with somebody else. And it's funny that I came to that in August, which is interesting as a thought, that God was kind of preparing me for what could happen and kind of did happen. So then, believing that Zach is my husband, all this good stuff. Then not even May, my birthday is May 1st, and I just celebrated, fun fact. And then, so in like the end of April, like I was praying and God was like, it's not Zach. And I said, God, I just want to clarify that was you, because the devil be busy out here and my thoughts be busy out here. So I just need clarification. It wasn't like I was praying for this, but once again, I had prayed for wisdom. And when I said wisdom, that's when it's not Zach. And I said, okay, so like, what's really good? What's going on? Like, I need clarification. He was basically saying that I need to keep an open heart and an open mind, and that things fell out of alignment, basically. Now, when I first heard that, I said, well, Zach messed up, because I know your girl's been in alignment, so bye, Zach. I don't have time. I don't have energy. Like, I said I was relieved, and I think I was relieved, because it had turned into this thing where, like, I wanted Zach's attention so much. Like, I would go to events, like, for Zach. I would invite Zach to my events. I would be like, I wish Zach would like my picture on Instagram. Like, it was like almost not all consuming, but pretty much. It consumed a lot of my thoughts. And so when I heard that it was no longer him, it was a relief that like, okay, now I feel like I can focus on other stuff. And then I was just like, kind of like, just like, but also at the same time kind of annoyed, because I was like, well, what did Zach do? But then it kind of came to me, it's not my business what Zach did. What Zach did or didn't do is between him and God. And I need to mind my business and just let God work on me as an individual. So then, I'm accepting this. I told my friends two of my friends, who I had told about this, and they were like understanding and helped me out. And I told some other friends, and they were like, so what happened? Like, why? And God is all knowing. He knows everything. He sees everything. He anticipates everything. He is omniscient. However, we as humans also have free will. God can do everything he can, but if we don't listen to God and we don't walk in the way that God is telling us to walk, things can fall off track. And God is always talking. We're just not always listening. So in that, I had to realize, it took me a while, but I had to realize that Zach wasn't only to blame. Like I said, I don't know what happened with Zach, minding my business. But with my situation, I was giving Zach perks that he did not deserve. We were acquaintances. We were friends, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? And Zach was getting the full package of, we were in the talking stage. We were dating in my head. My actions didn't show that, but I was like qualifying it as like, oh, we're basically together in my head. But I'm just waiting for the natural to catch up. But like, not being so spiritual that you don't acknowledge what's happening in the natural is a problem, y'all. And that is something that I had to come through this. So that's one of the lessons I learned from this whole thing, is that, you know, we are waiting for the world to catch up with what's happening in heaven or what's happening in the spiritual realm. However, like, we live in the world and have to operate as God directs us in the world, if that makes some sense. So I realized there was some blame to be shared in the situation, because obviously I'm not perfect. So this happened, all these realizations and stuff happened about the week of my birthday, you know, after, and it's still growing now. It's honestly a loading testimony, to be honest with you guys. So, but meanwhile, I knew who my husband is now. Like, we'll call this guy Kyle. I forgot about the fake name I made up. Kyle. Meanwhile, I'm knowing this whole time that now Kyle is my husband. A few days after I found out Zach wasn't my husband, it was like, it's Kyle. I said, what is Kyle? And yeah, that's when it was revealed to me that Kyle is my husband. And I didn't accept it for a long time, because I said, first of all, we just got out of one thing. I really don't want to go back into that mindset that I was so relieved to get out of. And I was just like low-key kind of upset because I was like, God, why would you take me out of this to put me back into something else? Like, I just want a break. You know, when people have breakups and they're like, I just need some space. That's what I felt like, because Kyle was so great that I didn't want it to be like a rebound or for the same thing to happen. Zach was great too, but like Kyle, like, I just don't want that to happen. I didn't want that to happen again. So then, a lot of stuff has been talking about, like, around me, like Bible studies and like different preachers I follow and stuff have been talking about God doing a new thing. So when we're embracing God doing a new thing, we kind of have to forget the ways that we had before. It is in, I believe it's Isaiah 43, 18 through 19. I'm looking at my wall. Isaiah 43, 18 through 19, where basically it's like, forget the things of the past. God is doing a brand new thing. So in that, I kind of had to understand that what's going on with Kyle has not really much to do with what's going on, with what went on with Zach. Kyle is a completely isolated new situation that I need to embrace in a new way. I can take the lessons I learned from the Zach situation, but it's not going to look the same, and it's not going to be the same, and it shouldn't be the same, because why would God do the same thing twice? You know what I mean? God is doing a new thing, and I need to get ready to really embrace the Kyle of it all, like the new situation in a new way. So that's where I am now, and that's as prepared I feel to talk about Kyle, because there's a very real level to this that maybe these guys could watch and figure out who Zach and Kyle are. So we're gonna leave it there. And yeah, I really just wanted to make this video because I know when I was going through it, I'd only really heard from women who were married about this. Like, I didn't really hear from too many women who were in the middle of it, like I am right now, where it's like, technically this ain't my man yet, but I know he's my man. So what does that look like, and what does that mean? So because I haven't come to the end of it, I think some people wait until the end to share their testimony, but I'm starting to realize that that's not what God wants me to do. So here I am sharing a testimony in the making. And if you're watching and you know, you feel like God's told you who your husband is, like, and you want to talk about it, you know what I mean? Feel free to hit me up. Instagram, Twitter, at Lisa K. Satchel. And for real, like, this isn't just like, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. This is like for real. Like, if you guys need prayer, you need to talk, even if it's not about this, like, hit me up. Because I really do want to help. And I do feel called to help, specifically with this and in a lot of other areas. So prayer, guidance from God, or anything like that you need, like, I'm here to help, for real. And yeah, I hope this is helpful. Really, I do. I'll probably keep making more videos about testimonies in the making and sharing some things that have come to me about, like, love in general, between God's love, romantic love, friendship, all this stuff. Sharing more about just, like, the thing we call life, man. It's crazy out here in these streets. And honestly, I think for a long time, the reason I didn't make YouTube videos is because, like, well, I need to have a completed story before I share it on the internet like this. And then I realized you don't. Or at least I don't. Some people, that is your portion, that is your calling. But for me, that's not what God's calling me to. He's calling me to share the process. So here I am, sharing the process. I hope that was clear. I hope we got some understanding of it. I honestly feel, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, before I was making this video, I felt very heavy. I was scared and everything. But right now I feel so much lighter because I feel like I've done what God has told me to do. So that's another little nugget in there, that when you do what God has called you to do, even if it's scary when you start, when you're done, you'll feel lighter, you'll feel happier. And no matter what happens with this video in terms of, like, who sees it or who doesn't see it, like, I'm just glad that I did what God called me to do. So that's another little nugget for y'all that I'm learning as I sit here and I'm sharing right now. Okay, so appreciate you guys for watching. Once again, hope this helped. Hit me up at Lisa K. Satchel, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Bye. For real, hit me up if you need prayer. I'm not kidding. If you need prayer, you need to talk to somebody, hit me up. I'm dead serious. Okay, bye.